Hello everyone and welcome to my channel, and today I'll be reading a Neuvillette Listener by me. So let's get into it. Today was a good day by his standards. After all, he'd finished his work, and the couple of cases that he dealt with were not overly upsetting. It had only rained a little bit, compared to every day. And right now, he even had time and energy to go and walk by the shore and have this nightly stroll that he had whenever he was able to think and to escape from the heavy responsibilities that weighed on his shoulders, if even for a couple of minutes. However, something in the air felt different tonight, and he had no idea what it may be, not until he was able to see you. As he walked further along the shore, he noticed something unusual out of the corner of his eye. A pale form lying motionless against the sand, half submerged in water. His steps quickened, his heart pounding in a way that surprised him, and when he drew closer, his breath caught in his throat. There, tangled in seaweed and struggling to move, is a mermaid. A real mermaid, like the ones he's read about in stories and seen in the operas. Except as far as he knew, there were no mermaids in Tivat. But you were here, your tail glistening under the moonlight, your shimmering scales reflecting the silver light of the stars. You were curled up on the sand, clearly injured, your breathing shallow as you cling weakly to consciousness. Without hesitation, the Chief Justice marched over to you, kneeling beside you, his usual calm demeanor replaced by a rare sort of urgency. "Are you all right?" he asked softly, reaching a hand toward you, though careful not to touch you just yet. His voice was deep, a soothing contrast to the harshness of the world around you, and you managed to flutter your eyes open, but you didn't answer at first, too weak to respond. Instead, you whimpered as you tried to move, crying out softly in pain. His brows only knit in concern, and he reached out, placing a gentle hand on your arm to stop you. "Don't move. You're hurt," he urged you, his voice low and reassuring, and you looked up at him, your eyes wide with fear and confusion. The world around you seemed distant, and you, and most of all blurred by the pain and exhaustion that inevitably clouded your mind after all that you've been through. Where am I?" you managed to whisper, your voice barely audible over the sound of the waves. "You've washed ashore," Neuvillette explained, his voice steady, despite the worry flickering in his pale eyes. "I was simply passing by when I found you here, injured, but you're safe now. However, I do need to help you somehow, if you would let me." He hesitated, unsure of how to assist a creature of the sea, or at least of your kind. After all, he's never met one or heard about one, and despite being the Hydra dragon, he was not very capable of treating a sea creature that he's never seen. At least, he was not willing to experiment on you. Still, his instincts told him to at least stay by your side and offer you comfort in whichever way he could. His touch was gentle as he inspected your wounds, noting the deep gashes along your tail, likely from the jagged rocks that lined the shore. If there were more of your kind, then you would have to think about this and see if you can even help in any way. Hold still, he murmured, pulling a handkerchief from his coat. I'm going to stop the bleeding. And he nodded weakly, too drained to argue. Maybe if you were awake, you would struggle a bit. You didn't know him. You didn't trust him. And you were scared. It's been so long since you've come across a human. Well, this one did not look particularly human. There was something strange about him, although you didn't know what it was. It didn't matter much. He seemed like them, and acted like them too, so he would be a human until he was proved otherwise. And now, he was tending to her injuries, with a tenderness that you've not really expected. His fingers brushed against your skin, cool but reassuring, as he binded the cloth around one of your wounds. And as he worked, you couldn't help yourself but ask, Why are you helping me? Neuvillette paused, his gaze flickering to yours, and for a moment he seemed to consider the question, his expression softening. Because it's the right thing to do, he said simply. You're hurt. I cannot possibly leave you like this. And you blinked, taken aback by his sincerity. There is something about him, something that was simply calming, as if his very presence could ease the ache in your body and soul. You're not used to this sincerity and kindness, to being cared for without question or expectation. And yet here he was, a complete stranger, giving you all of that. Thank you, he whispered, the words barely more than a breath. And he gives you a small nod, his attention returning to your wounds, though his voice softened further. Do you remember how you came to be here? Anything in particular? Do you have a place to go back to? He shook your head, closing your eyes, as a wave of exhaustion washed over you. It's complicated, but I don't remember. I was swimming and then I saw a boat, and they tried to capture me. And I ran away, but I got injured in the process. And eventually, I passed out and woke up here. I suppose I just got a little bit too close. My family warned me not to do that when I was young, but I never listened. Either way, I have nowhere to go now. It's a bit too far, and I doubt they'd want me back. Not after everything that happened between us. His expression hardened with concern, but he just nodded. Maybe there were things he would never understand, and there was certainly a lot on your mind, and a lot that occurred between you and your family, although it was not currently his place to ask about that. That's alright. I'll do my best to care for you, or at least help you get somewhere safe. And I'm sorry for those men who tried to capture you. They must have been unaware of your kind. As you see, they've never seen mermaids in Fontaine. Perhaps they may be local to other nations, but as far as I know, they're not anywhere in Neuvillette. So I doubt that would be the case. Well, you're right. We're not local to anywhere else. You would have known if that were the case, but we hide from humans. Because humans always want to use us. They don't see us as fully sentient beings. So, I suppose that's why we never got close to them. He let out a soft sigh, nodding. That's understandable. I'm sorry for whatever you may have faced. I can only promise you that things may get better from now on. Thank you. Really. He smiles. Just a small fleeting curve of his lips, but it's enough to make you feel as though, despite everything, you found some good in this unexpected situation. And before you knew it, his arms had gone underneath you, and he was picking you up. Rest now. You're safe with me, he whispered gently. And although you would never believe any of their kind, for humans have only shown your kind pain and anger, you've decided to trust him. He seems nice and gentle, and he was the only one to show up with such sincerity in his eyes. And so, you find yourself believing, your eyes closing, as you finally feel safe again. And Neuvillette knew he had a very big responsibility here, but he was willing to shoulder it, if only it meant keeping you safe and protecting you from all harm.